Hello, welcome to Granny's Story Time. Today I'm going to read a book called Cloudmaker. Once again, we know it's an Indigenous or First Nations book because it's got the Australian Aboriginal flag on it. It's by Helen Milroy, and it says, Cloudmaker was a heavenly creature with a lightness of being, which gave him the freedom to exist anywhere. He created all the clouds in the universe. This was his destiny. But there is something, but was there something left for the Cloudmaker to do? So let's read this Dreamtime story by Helen Milroy. Cloudmaker. And this is dedicated to her ancestors. When I walked the lands of my ancestors, I learnt what it was to belong. It was our ancestors that laid down the path for our future so that our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren could flourish. I am so grateful for their wisdom, kindness, and love. Before time began, ancestral beings were busy preparing for the universe to be created. One such ancestor was Cloudmaker. He was a heavenly creature with a lightness of being that gave him the freedom to exist anywhere. Cloudmaker didn't need land or gravity. He was celestial in nature and cast a glow when light caught his feathers. He took flight, and it was magnificent, and it was a sight to behold. Cloudmaker had already spent an age in pre-existence with other ancestral beings, preparing for creation. Everyone was excited about finally bringing the worlds to life, and none more than Cloudmaker. He thought that his clouds were the greatest creation of all. Now, I know I like looking at clouds in the sky and trying to find different patterns in them. Do you do that? Cloudmaker had a special nursery where he grew clouds of all types. He had a separate place for storm clouds, and he had to make sure that the thunderstorms would not get out of control. When the young clouds were ready, he took them out into the universe, and he created all sorts of cloudscapes. Cloudmaker walked across these cloudscapes and tended his cloud gardens. Kira was Cloudmaker's favorite cloud. He visited her every day. They sat together quietly, talking and gazing into the universe, just like they had done since the beginning of time. They talked of the past and imagined the future. Cloudmaker and Kira were very old and had seen many, many worlds come and go. Cloudmaker had created enough clouds for all eternity, and although he still tended his cloud gardens, his spirit was very low and yearning for the past. Cloudmaker was the last of his kind. The past had been given way to a new life, a different way of being, and he could no longer see his future. He longed for a time when the universe was bursting of energy and creation. Cloudmaker became disheartened. Kira was worried and sensed a change in Cloudmaker and tried to cheer him up by reminding him of the old times and telling stories about the naughty clouds. Remember that thunderstorm cloud who wanted to see what it was like on the other side of the universe? Asked Kira. Very well indeed, replied Cloudmaker. He got completely lost and was terrified that he started the biggest storm anyone had ever seen. He almost brought the whole universe to a standstill. It was a great expedition, though, going off with a billow of clouds across the universe to rescue them, said Kira. But even the joy of reliving those old stories with Kira was not enough to cheer up Cloudmaker. Kira wondered what else she could do to help. Maybe the answers lay elsewhere. One day, when Cloudmaker and Kira were watching the universe, a new planet appeared. It looked different, and Cloudmaker became curious. This was the most exciting thing that had happened in quite some time. Cloudmaker and Kira were watching over the earth when they saw new life begin to form, and soon there were birds and animals, and sea creatures and underground dwellers. There were colours everywhere as the flowers blossomed. Life on earth evolved and looked full of wonder. And for the first time in many years, Cloudmaker's heart sang. He made sure there was enough clouds for shade, for rain, for lightning, and just for fun. He helped Earth flourish. Kira was pleased to see Cloudmaker feeling better. One day, Cloudmaker and Kira noticed some creatures on Earth, lying on the ground and pointing to the clouds. It must be some sort of game, said Kira. Let's have some fun, said Cloudmaker. He shaped the clouds into different animals he had seen on Earth. All sorts of cloud animals started appearing in the sky. He formed everything from giant wombats to wild emus. Cloudmaker and Kira laughed. But Cloudmaker soon became tired of this game. He then became disheartened once again. Kira tried to help, but to no avail. Both Cloudmaker and Kira knew that he was approaching the end of an age where things would change forever. He was, after all, an ancient being who belonged in a different time. His being became heavier and heavier and heavier, and Cloudmaker became so heavy he started falling through the sky. Cloudmaker landed on Earth in a soft pile of leaves, so close to a large tree that was a popular roosting place for the birds he had so admired from afar. He lay down and looked up in wonder at the blue sky, and the birds were astonished. "What is it?" asked Crow. "It looks like a bird, but it doesn't come from here," said Cockatoo. All the birds hid from sight. "Are you all right?" Magpie warbled from a branch in the tree. Cloudmaker saw the small black and white birds staring at him. "You fell from the sky. Are you one of those dinosaur birds that lived a long time ago?" asked the brave magpie. "Or maybe an angel?" "I am Cloudmaker, and I live in the deep sky," he replied. Magpie flew down to talk to Cloudmaker to make sure that it was safe for everyone. They talked for a long time about how the universe was formed and how he created and tended to all the clouds in the sky. "It's my life's work, but I am not needed anymore. Most of my ancestral friends have already passed into the dreaming. I don't know why I'm still here. I have lost my purpose." "We're good at finding things. Can we help you find your purpose? What does it look like?" asked Crow. "It's shiny because I'm the best at finding shiny things," bragged Magpie. The other birds scoffed quietly in the tree, but they did all agree with Magpie. Cloudmaker laughed. "It's not a thing. It's a reason for being, a destiny. Mine was to leave a legacy of creation for all eternity, but I'm not sure what else there is for me to do." The birds came out of hiding to talk to Cloudmaker, but suddenly the sky started to darken. Cloudmaker looked up and saw Kira and all the clouds watching. They were worried and gathering above him, blocking out the sun. Cloudmaker thanked the clouds for their concern. "Follow me around Earth," he said to the clouds. "Earth needs its sunshine." He told the birds he was going to go walk their country and would return soon. The clouds started following, and the sun shone once more. Cloudmaker walked up the mountains and through the forests, along the rivers and across the oceans. He saw Earth's colour and beauty, and he was inspired. This was the real wonder of creation, he thought, a world full of splendour. This was the future. It was a time of magnificence and abundance, for new life to flourish and for new hope to be ever present. Cloudmaker was overcome with joy and his spirit filled with love. When he returned to the tree, the birds joined together and sang their songs and danced their dances. The air was filled with fun and laughter. Their final song was one of gratitude to Cloudmaker for making their world possible and for helping Earth to grow. Cloudmaker was deeply moved. Cloudmaker could feel his lightness being returning, and started to slowly rise up. The birds cheered and waved goodbye. Magpie flew alongside him for as long as he and high as he could. He sang him on his way to the heavens. Cloudmaker stretched out his wings and said thanks and goodbyes and soared high into the deep blue sky. Cloudmaker told Kira everything he had learned about this earth and the meaning of creation. As they sat together, Cloudmaker started to cry. He cried tears of sadness for all that had passed. He cried tears of joy for the beauty of creation. He cried tears of love for his precious clouds. His tears overflowed and rolled down onto his wings. He held up the teardrop on the tip of his wing, just as the sun was setting. Cloudmaker and Kira could see the sunlight reflecting through the teardrop. And then something magnificent happened. As the sunlight caught the teardrop, the light was split into an array of colours. This created a rainbow that encircled the earth. It was truly magnificent. The colours of earth were now in the sky, and the Cloudmaker and Kira were in awe of its beauty. The rainbow was a promise to the world of eternal hope and renewal after the rains. This was Cloudmaker's final gift to creation. Cloudmaker realized he carried one of the most important parts of creation. The teardrops were formed from water that was older than the universe and would never run dry. This was a promise to the world. Cloudmaker gathered up all his tears and sprinkled them over the clouds so that the rainbows would always be a part of the new age. He gave his last and most loving teardrop to Kira. She would miss her old friend, and she held his teardrop close to her heart. Cloudmaker would live on forever in the rain and the rainbows. Kira, however, was eternal and would become part of the new age. She would watch over Earth as she always had, but now with Cloudmaker's love and hope in her heart. It's very hard. That night, Cloudmaker fell into a deep sleep. A gentle peace settled over him, his lightness of being passed into the dreaming. He was content. And that is the end of Cloudmaker by Helen Milroy. I hope you really enjoyed this First Nations Dreamtime story, because I certainly have. It's not one I've read before, so I'm really glad to share it with you. I'm glad to learn, and remember, you can buy books from a bookseller like this, or you can go to your local library and borrow books on this topic. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.